Hi everyone, hello from Mongolia. I'm Zolbo. I'm the director of Startup Grind Ulaanbaatar and going to be the host of this fireside chat with Dave Lee, co-founder and the CEO of XMeta. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I know we talked a lot, and in one of the story that really resonated with me, and again, I haven't told you that I used to be a trader with one of the local banks here.
Oh, okay.
So, finding out that you were actually a commodity trader, shifted from there to crypto world, and end up being the founder of this great exchange is really resonated with me because I want to do that switch as well, right? So I think a lot of the viewers here can learn a lot about your experience and how you actually hacked different markets, a lot of arbitrage. Those things, I want to touch on that. But before I touch there, when you introduce yourself, could you tell us more about XMeta? And I think you talked about you're going to launch a product sometime in July, right? So if you can put some shed light on that, if it's not too early, right?
Sure.
So
No,
let's start off right there.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Dave. I'm the CEO of crypto exchange in Mongolia called XMeta. We are licensed and regulated by the local FRC, where we are partnered with one of the biggest liquidity providers in the world, Binance, where we strive to provide transparency, security, as well as custodian matters with the users to lead the industry in Mongolia. XMeta's main focus when we first launched was what I based it on. In emerging markets, the biggest concerns and the areas that we have to focus on are transparency, security, as well as the liquidity in any exchange, whether it's crypto or just Forex and so on. And having being blessed to have a relationship with Binance from previous, deals that I've done, we had an amazing opportunity to bring a crypto exchange that kind of covers all the above. So off the bat, our KYC process, we work with the world leader in KYC called Jumio. So Jumio works with major players like Airbnb, HSBC, Mo United, any big companies, conglomerates that require KYC, most of them are done through a Jumio platform. So we are the only one in Mongolia that have implemented global standard KYC program. Second, it would be transparency plus security aspect of it. A lot of people think in blockchain, it's kind of a wild, wild west, right? P2P, it's not monitored, it's not governed, but that's not true. So blockchain transactions actually can be monitored and can be detected if there are red flags, right? So we work with the leader in the industry as well, called Chainalysis, and we're the only exchange in Mongolia that implements KYT, which is Know Your Transaction. So all of the transactions that go through our exchange are constantly being monitored through their algorithm that would detect any suspicious activities. And if we were to detect it, then we would investigate it manually and proceed. If it's okay, move on. If it's not, then we work with the local FRC to process the matter. Then the third is the most important, is liquidity. Liquidity is a big issue, right? You could have all the assets in a crypto space. If there are no buyers or if there's no liquidity that would allow you to transact, then it's just good as a paper. So focusing on that, we work with Binance, and we have the same liquidity pool as the Binance does. So it's the biggest pool in the world. And all of our custodians, the wallet addresses, everything is linked directly with Binance platform. So Binance hot wallet and cold wallets for the security, and allowing all the users to be able to, trade on XMeta with all the liquidity, all the confidence and security, right? The safe of your holdings assets, as well as the KYC process to make sure that everything is in par with the local regulation. in upcoming months, so we are thinking of launching maybe after the summer, right? In the summer in Mongolia, particularly, the weather is so nice. So everyone is kind of going to countryside. Right, right. So we thought that maybe we'll launch it end of August. And I'm glad to, announce it here. But it'll be the XMeta 2.0 that we've been we've been informing our users. But the XMeta 2.0 will have its a complete new interface. So it would come up with our new own app. So there'll be a new app for it for iOS as well as Android. New entire UI, UX, user friendliness with, kind of at the next level rather than what we have, bringing more user friendly activities. We would be having not just spot trading, but future, leverage, margin, all the tradings that you see available on global exchanges like Binance, KuCoin, Engate, and so on. Correct. So it actually puts us at a different level, because before, if we were dependent on Binance platform, now we're utilizing that platform and we kind of created our own without compromising the liquidity, without compromising the security and all the process that we built for the last 12 months. So it's extremely exciting. And I believe having this type of platform in Mongolia for the Mongolian users is, for me as a foreigner, is extremely exciting, right? Because now Mongolians are able to not only just store your coins, right, but be able to trade on spots, but also be able to, use futures, leverage, margins, staking. And I believe that with the new application, we'll have a lot more flexibility to be able to work with other local vendors, being able to implement whether it's NFTs or other crypto payment systems and so on. So yeah, it's extremely exciting, and we are aimed to launch end of August or beginning of September. So yeah, that's pretty exciting for us.
Yeah, so looking forward to it, and I think that's gonna really change the game here.
Correct.
Because I was about 6 months ago, or a little over 6 months ago, I was speaking to one of the co-founders of Trade Data Man.
Okay.
So they were saying they were going to update some of their products and whatnot, because the industry itself is going forward so fast.
Sure.
And they need to update it constantly. I mean, that is a tech company, it's all right, but it's a trading-based business that needs to be always updated. New products need to be brought to the market a lot. So in that case, if they don't do that, kind of like what you guys have is a traders who is always looking for new kind of excitement, right? So they move on to the next platform and whatnot. I guess that's probably why Binance and everyone else is growing so much faster.
Yeah, I mean, I think the focus is extremely important on your vision, right? Where do you want to be, right? And rather than following the money or the trend, I think you have to focus on where the needs are, right? So what XMeta focused on is we are currently the biggest tether provider, or BUSD, digital dollar provider in Mongolia. So why is that so important is, so yes, I come from trader background as well, right? So being able to identify what is most important core thing is, how do you transit from fiat, so local currency or dollar, into tether, digital currency that would allow you to trade. So we have this very unique fiat to crypto integration that's implemented, where just using your local bank, just 1, 2, 3, and once you deposit, it would automatically convert to that tether value, right, equivalent value, and it would be available for you to trade immediately. So that was the first thing. The second is, the liquidity and availability and so forth, but security, right? So the XMeta 2.0, our vision and the focus is, how are we going to continuously provide what the global industry, global exchanges, what the global world, the standard that they're trying to set, right? And as long as we're able to keep the same vision and the focus of where the needs are, and as long as we are able to continuously provide that service for the Mongolian users, I think is where our focus is. And I think that's where the true growth is for XMeta.
Okay, well, it's good to know. So now I think you mentioned that you guys are licensed and working in a regulated market right now. So the regulation just passed what, like half a year ago?
Correct.
So how is that affecting the market and working with under regulation, especially with the FRC, right? The organization itself. And then what do you think the government is going to drive this market to, where the vision should be, right?
Yeah, even recently, the U.S. Treasury visited Mongolia, and I had an amazing time with the person who came, the representative, and we kind of had a similar conversation. For us, or for me especially, right, as a foreigner, having regulation and I guess guidelines is a positive thing, right? Before the regulation kind of implemented, there were, I think, 30 over exchanges in Mongolia. And to me, that's scarce, right? That scares me, right? Because people are not educated enough. And Mongolia had a huge crypto boom, right? In the last, 18, about 2 years, right? And when there's such a big boom in such a quick, rapid time pace, and when you have like 30 plus exchanges offering these, services, who do you choose, right? And who loses at the end? The users, right? The investors, the trader, the holders. They're the ones that are going to lose. So through the regulations and the guidelines that FRC set in place, it kind of removed and eliminated all the unnecessary, if I may. I don't mean to discredit them, but it allowed filtration, right? Where the ones that are kind of on par with certain standards were able to operate, and the ones that couldn't were removed. So in that process, for me, that was extremely a positive effect, because now we have a much more sense of security and sense of, how do I say this, support for the users, right? Because now at least the ones that are operating, people can trade, people can deposit and use the services confidently without having to worry if that exchange is going to disappear tomorrow, or if there's going to be any, issues legally, right?
How many exchanges are there, licensed exchanges?
Now, in crypto sector, there's XMeta, IDEX, CoinHub, Trade.mn, Complex, and Corex. So these 6 are the major exchanges that are registered with FRC in a crypto space currently.
Well, that's plenty enough.
I think so. For our
Market
GDP,
size.
the market size, the population, I think this is a good amount.
I also heard that the number of people here in Mongolian market hold coin, NFT, comes up to 1.3 million. That is almost 40% of the population, right? So could that be possibly be close to what actual number is?
Yeah, I think so.
So people are quite active in this space.
Yeah, Mongolia is, I think, just generally as a tech sector, when you view Mongolia, Mongolia is an extremely rare gem, country, location for the tech sector. People are young, they're extremely adaptable, especially in the tech sector. So whether it's crypto or blockchain, nowadays AI, Web 3.0, and given the population size and given the fact that there are a lot of young generation, the adaptability of them kind of adapting to this, what we call emerging technology, right, is extremely high. So it's a great market for tech companies to be able to appreciate and take the benefit of that and create a lot of proof of concept,
right,
and
scale up
from there, right?
So the part where you actually launched XMeta, founded XMeta, and then the story you actually were telling me before, right? How you shifted from little by little, but there was, I guess it was a process over a decade, right? So can you go back to some of that examples and share some of that,
Sure.
the process and then arbitrage and all that stuff?
Sure. So by trade, I started as a physical commodity trader. Yes, and
That's
that
back
is,
in
this is going back 2010,
10-ish?
11, right? 12.
That's when Mongolia was hot too, right? So
Correct. It was extremely hot. I think they called it black diamond, right? Referring to coal. So yeah, I started as a physical commodity trader. And naturally, as a trader, you are continuously learning in hedging, arbitrage, right? But on the physical sense, right? So that's what actually got me out to move out to Asia. So I was just a normal Asian American, went to decent school, had a decent, good family. And I just thought there's something more out there, right? So this is a time where nowadays everyone wants to move out to Asia. But back then, everyone wanted to move to the US for that American dream. So this is an era where you see inbound of all these Asians coming to the US, New York, LA, Texas, Chicago, and just wanting that American dream. And when I was witnessing all these Asians coming and when I was kind of learning the space, right? Everyone would just tell me how lucky I was, right? That I was American, that, I don't have to worry about visa, that you're fluent in multiple, and all the benefits that kind of come with it. But from the inside view, I'm going, you guys are the lucky ones because all the actions happen in Asia. So, as a trader, you don't see, yeah, sure there are, but all these raw commodities, US doesn't produce any of it, right? It's all imported, right? Sure, they have the huge amount of, oil and gas. They don't spend it, they buy it all, they import it, right? So for me, I was like, okay, well, if I'm that lucky, I should go out there and test my luck. So one day I literally packed up and then I moved to, first was Beijing. So I landed in Beijing and I started to work in procurement sector from all the mines, right? And that's how I first entered Mongolia, as well as Indonesia, Australia, all the other, in China, all the countries that are related to commodity sector, right? And then if we fast track it a little bit with the whole global warming, climate change, etc., I thought there was a time where I figure I needed some life-changing, dramatic change in my life and started to kind of focus on the climate, global warming issues as well. And that's when, and a lot of the commodity guys shifted into that, right? So what's funny is even at like Glencore, try to figure out that the head of the carbon sector and so forth, right? If you look at their resume, they've been the leader of, the head of oil and gas for the last 30 years.
Okay.
And then they shifted over to carbon and other sector, renewable energy. And the reason is it's not that they don't have anyone. It's very similar. It's plug and play, right? So whether you are mining for, non-ferrous metals versus you're now retiring carbon credits, or whether you are building a massive mining project versus you're now building a renewable energy sector, like it's very similar, right? So it's just a plug and play concept. So it was extremely easy for me to adapt and kind of shift into that. And I've shifted much earlier than the rest. So by 2014,
I see. That early, huh?
Correct. I've already shifted into that. And now I was spending a lot of my time in Africa. And until this date, I believe through CDRPD, my carbon company out of Korea and in the US, we are proud to say that we probably retired most amount of carbon credits on both voluntary and involuntary market out of Asia generally. So kind of witnessing that whole process and building in that sector was also extremely, it was very rewarding, right, in the sector.
So now you were in carbon. And then,
So once I've retired millions of carbon credits and started working with a lot of Koreans as the client base for the need of the carbon credits and so forth, it kind of introduced me to this whole new world of crypto with arbitrage opportunity. So going back 2016, 17, there was this huge boom in crypto space and in Bitcoin and others, right?
the price was, what was it then?
I mean, back then you're looking at...
Is that when they crossed 20,000 or was it slightly below?
No, it was below 20, right? But there was a major boom in crypto space, right? That was like when, like, because before that,
a lot of money coming in.
correct, people didn't know, like, they knew, but it wasn't like such a big deal, right? So people that went into Bitcoin going back 2010, 11, I mean, you hear this Bitcoin pizza day, right? How many Bitcoin you had to spend for the pizza, what it's worth today, like all that. So it wasn't worth much then, right? So it started to really become commercial going 15, 16, 17, right? There was another boom. What a lot of people know in the market is kimchi premium. So what kimchi premium is strictly based on supply and demand in Korea of Bitcoin. Korea is a very unique country where Mongolia implement that same financial system now, where everything is based on the local currency. So even if you have dollar and you want euros, you would have to convert dollar to 1 to euro, right? That process eliminated a lot of the opportunities to be able to buy Bitcoin, right? Because back then, Korea exchanges weren't that big, right? Or as they were getting big, the Korean regulation with allowing foreigners to open bank accounts was extremely limited. Since everything is done on Korean won, again, going back to liquidity, even if the exchange is, like going crazy with all these, demand, the liquidity of sell is not available, the opportunity wasn't there. So the only way the market worked were through these overseas operations, what you call OTC, so over-the-counter deals. So there were a unique amount of people that beat the system, allowing you to buy Bitcoins from overseas and bring that into Korea.
Korean exchanges.
Correct. And be able to basically provide the liquidity for them. But with supply being always being low, demand being high, a Bitcoin that is worth $5,000 was worth at highest over 48%. Of its value.
48%.
So yeah, so basically $5,000 and it'll be worth like 7,000 in Korea.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah. So kind of, I was already.
Was that the case only in Korean market or
it was only Korean market.
Okay.
It was only in Korea. So that's why it's called kimchi premium. And everyone couldn't utilize or take the opportunity and monetize that because the Korea banking system would limit, foreigners from having bank accounts. Right? There are limits on amount of money you can remit outside of Korea, which is like 50 million Korean won, right? Anything above that, it would be reported. It's extremely tough in Korea. So it wasn't about people not having money. It was just a fact that they couldn't get access to Bitcoin, but everyone wanted it. So having a lot of transactions through carbon and others through Korea into overseas, I was blessed and fortunate enough to be able to work out a system that allowed me to monetize the kimchi premium. Also, the fact that I'm Korean American kind of helped, right?
Culture, language.
Exactly. So that's how I got involved in crypto space. And although people talk of it and you can Google it, not many players were doing this. It's much tougher than said. Hence, the arbitrage was just getting higher and higher. If everyone were to do it, there wouldn't be that arbitrage, right? So I think that just shows factually how hard it was. Eventually, it started to go down because everyone started to figure out a system. So the arbitrage disappeared.
So I bet there is no kimchi premium at this point now.
No.
Okay.
No.
But the part that I'm trying to figure out is like, why was the Bitcoin, was in a short of supply.
Because everything is based on Korean won in Korea.
Korean won, right?
So Bitcoin is traded on Korean won.
Right.
Everywhere in the world, Bitcoin is traded on US dollar.
Right. So
Or
because
tether.
it was priced in when Bitcoin was priced in won, and there's a US dollar in between, right?
So it's not a currency hedge. No. So this is where you're. So if you go to like top 10 exchanges and you look at Bitcoin prices, it's all similar, correct? Right?
Right.
In Korea, Bitcoin value was like 20-30% higher than all the other exchanges
Right.
against US dollar.
Against US dollar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fixated against US dollar. But the problem is in Korea, you couldn't buy, sell Bitcoin against US dollar. So it was always converted in Korean won. But then the value changes, right? Because it's against Korea. So that value fluctuation is only simply currency rate between US dollar to Korean won. That's the only difference.
Right.
The Bitcoin is already 20% higher, 30% higher. Does that make sense?
So someone who's selling Bitcoin receiving Korean won, right?
Okay.
What would the seller of the Bitcoin would do with the Korean won?
Convert it to US dollar and go buy more Bitcoin.
And then to convert it into US dollar, is that free to do it?
No. So you would utilize non-traditional ways where people would need Korea won in Korea, but have US dollar overseas. So you call gray swap, right?
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I see. Okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah. There are some, look, I'm always been an arbitrage trader. So there are arbitrage opportunities with Korean won and USD tether, for example, and others. But you're not talking 20-30%, right? You're talking maybe 1 or 2 points on a monthly basis, if that, right? So, but yeah, that opened the door in a crypto space for me. And since I was one of few people that were physically doing that, I had a lot of opportunity to work with a lot of global crypto-related, exchange-related companies. Hence, my connection with all these other crypto-related companies that I was able to bring forward to Mongolia in the last year and a half, 2 years. So, everything happens for a reason, right?
So you're basically back then looking for an exchange where you can get supply of Bitcoins and you're going through different exchanges in different markets.
Correct. It's
Collect them and
basically
bring it over
procuring. So again, same thing with mining. Goes back into the procuring mode and then logistics and exit, right?
So now, where is Bitcoin now?
Bitcoin now we're swimming around 26, 27,000, right? This morning it was, right?
So is it on an uptrend?
The only thing I would say is
What's your outlook, by the way?
my outlook on Bitcoin is extremely high, right? Although I think it's not a financial advice, right? Absolutely not.
Okay, let's narrow it down. What's your outlook for the next 12 months, let's say?
Ooh, I think I'm looking forward to 24.
24.
Correct. Okay. I am looking forward to 2024. I know that today, I think, the big issue with Binance and the US SEC has kind of been resolved and they're looking for a positive way to move forward, right? But ultimately for Bitcoin, for me, it's math, right? Supply and demand. So total 21 million in total amount of Bitcoins available. Doesn't matter what you do, you can't increase it. Right. So far, around 19 million has been mined, right?
Right.
There's only 2 million left. There's 8 billion people. Bitcoin is fundamentally the pure definition of decentralized world, right? Where through genuine supply and demand and the user cases of people wanting X and Y, the transaction can happen through Bitcoin, right?
Right.
And has the biggest, biggest demand, right? In all crypto. With less than 2 million available, for me, it's a no-brainer, right? And for me to believe in that, and I don't mean other cryptocurrencies, right? But at least Bitcoin-wise, I think it's the grandfather, it's the epiphany, it's the representation of what a decentralized system should be, right? And I'm a genuine believer of it, and just math, right? There's, populations increasing. More user cases and utility bases for usage of Bitcoin is increasing. More companies are accepting cryptos, right? More, and you go to, what was it, like Overstock. I think this is going back even like 4 or 5 years, right? Like Overstock, I don't know if they offer it anymore, but I remember Overstock used to accept payments in Bitcoin, right? So there are more these commercial cases of Bitcoin being utilized as a form of a payment, right? Okay, well then let's look at the math, right? There's more people in usage of, accepting the utilization of Bitcoin, but the supply of Bitcoin is decreasing. Fundamentally, in my opinion, you don't have to be a PhD in mathematics to know that price would...
To guess it. Right?
Correct.
Okay, so since 2017, Bitcoin price went down to what, 15,000? Was it the lowest?
It went way below, right? So it even went down as low as, 5,000, right? 4,000. It went back down that bad.
Oh, I see.
Then it bounced back up, especially during COVID. And then it dropped down again. And then, it reached all-time high again and then it's starting to come down again, right? But has to do with, this year was extremely tough. It was a very, very tough year for crypto, from Luna nightmare, to FTX issues, right? To Voyager issue, right? And then the Binance with the SEC issue. It's just been endless cycle of these bad just news that were just pumping, right? So it was a hard year for crypto, and not to mention all these legal battles that the influencers had to, endure.
With, right?
Correct. So it was a tough year, right? Tough year, but I think crypto is there to last, right? That's for sure. Now, blockchain and crypto are completely different, right? That's what people need to understand. Crypto is, built within the blockchain system. But blockchain offers a lot more than just cryptocurrency, right? So I believe blockchain is one of the top emerging technology, right, out there. I think blockchain and Web3 personally is more valuable than AI, right? I know everyone is talking about AI these days.
Big trend right now.
Big trend. But I think blockchain and Web3 is much more concrete, stable, and there are a lot more user cases that can be beneficial for the next 5-10 years compared to AI. So I think just overall, the market is tough. At times like this, what I've always advised were, look, you have to be educated, right? You have to educate yourself. Don't look for people think you have Bitcoin or any crypto and they think they become a millionaire. No, most of crypto traders, they all lost money.
Right, they do.
Unless you went in earlier, right?
Just like any other market, the fluctuation is large. Thing about the blockchain, what I noticed that compared to AI technologies, that to have the use cases in different sectors, what we fundamentally need to change is the law and the regulations that governs that sector, right?
Sure.
So without that being changed, it's really hard to have that really widespread use case scenario in some certain sectors. let's say we're talking about in Mongolia, right? You go to notary. That's one of the most painful process you're gonna go through. But if everything is on blockchain, we just eliminate all that process.
Correct.
And releases all that human power as well, and they can work somewhere else, right? Much more efficiently. So, but then we gotta change the whole system to be able to try it. And I guess it's probably, even though like the notary is most widely used service here now from the legal system, but to change that and to have it, but it's probably going to change the last, because everything is kind of touching it, and everyone's wealth is also some way or another related to having notary system and all that stuff, right? So it's really that, I think that makes it very tough to have these really big use cases in blockchain technology right now.
Yeah, I think it's all emerging technology, right now. AI, AR, ML, machine learning, blockchain, Web3, IoT. But ultimately, you're correct. The biggest fear is, will these technologies overpower human resources, take your job away, right? Will it cause a chaos in our social economy or the environment, right? And people are not, how do you say this? They're never, no one likes change, right? No one likes change and the growth, right? But I think Mongolia should really focus on being a leader in emerging technology. Again, going back to this proof of concept. With look, you can look at certain thing and take the good out of it or just complain about it, right? Having very concentrated population of 1.67 million in Ulaanbaatar. Sure, it's, the traffic is horrible, right? And there are a lot of negatives to it, but look at the positives. It's perfect little city that you can concentrate and focus your proof of concept and implement and have every user adapt to it. So as a foreigner, one thing that I was just mind bothered at was eBatum, the application. I have no benefit out of it, but I think 98%
Uses it.
right? In course of 6 months or less, 98 or 6% of entire Mongolians adapted, right? Tell me where in the world you see that kind of stats. It's impossible, unheard of, right? You mentioned crypto, verified over 500,000 wallet addresses, right? It's mind-boggling, right? So if Mongolia can work, and it requires these multi-supportive this government agencies as well as private sectors to work together, right? But if Mongolia becomes a leader in blockchain Web3 space, the one thing that I always advocated it, right? It would help with traffic.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yes.
Right? It would help with all the waiting.
Right.
Right? I mean, everything
Printing papers.
Yeah. It would save trees.
Right.
Right? So it would save you money. It would save you time. It would save you traffic, right? The headache. And everything is notarized in Mongolia, right? So why would you not? People are scared for what? Loss of job? Maybe, because notary is a big sector. But what they're not realizing is by implementing that blockchain Web3, instead of one notary, or I don't know how many there are, 10,000, you just created 10,000 jobs for the young generations in the tech sector. Mm-hmm. And you're becoming a leader in this emerging technology that can go outward to the world, right? Mongolia have a huge potential in the tech sector, like I always advocate. We need to focus on this digital Silk Road, right? Mongolia knows, everyone knows Mongolia as Genghis Khan, or that's it, or mining, tourism. if we're able to advocate this and together with the young generation, working with the government, and bring this digital transformation in a tech sector, we could actually build this digital Silk Road that connects all of Asia with Europe, right? And then through Europe to Americas, right? And I think having this heavy concentrated population in Ulaanbaatar, in the capital, is just perfect ground for that. And people being so, adaptable to these new technology. And, a lot of Mongolians, there was a stat, like, there's only like 3.2 million, but there are 4.95, almost 5 million people with phones, right? Amount of cell phones, right? Right.
So everyone's pretty much having 1 point some phone.
Exactly.
Right.
So I don't know, a lot of these emerging technologies are very mobile friendly, right?
Right.
So that means pretty much entire country, they don't know how to use a laptop, but they all know how to use a smartphone, right? Well, it's kind of like Africa, right? In a sense, like I feel like Africa has so much potential, but Mongolia is even better because people are more linguistic.
International music festival, which is different than what we have here locally, right? And it's also, I think it's a very, in a trend at this point, especially among younger people who are looking into electro music, DJ and stuff. It seems like a big deal right now, right? So tell me about Intra Music Festival.
So in addition to XMeta, right, and the crypto space, I think I started to realize that education knowledge is key, right? We take it for granted, right? The ones that are fortunate enough to be educated overseas, that had better opportunity, and to be able to monetize those opportunities for yourself, right? And I think now that I'm kind of reached to the 40 and now kind of halfway through our life, the importance and the things that really are significant in your life changes, right? It's not just about the money anymore. It's not just about the deals, right? And that's where I started to kind of shift away now, where I focus on how we are able to give back to the local community and how do we continuously advocate how great Mongolia can be. I think I will always support that through the tech sector, through this digital, Silk Road, etc. But another way that I thought that we can do that is through music. So XMeta, which we started with just as a crypto exchange, now me personally have kind of evolved and started to work on rebranding of this X group, right? So X is more like an unknown, right? We always say X is unknown. So unknown of kind of reaching of these unknown areas where no one is dare to do, or they're too ignorant to do. Ignorant as in literally lack of knowledge, okay? Ignorant to do, or they don't have the resources and so on. So that's the base of what all of my companies are going to focus on, right? The unknowns. And how do we allow these unknowns to spread this movement in Mongolia with this young generation? And how do we get that outbounded to the world, right? And while we're doing that, set different parts, right? So I think whether it was the XMeta Exchange or our esports team and others, I would like to believe that the time that I spent with my team, we've done pretty well, right, at what we do. So recently, another company we founded is called the X-Core, right? So I founded X-Core with my XMeta team, right? And what's unique is we focus on three things, right? So advisory, management, and or investment. So we're looking at any projects or companies that need any of these three or all of the above, right? To be able to grow or get to the next level. And we thought that starting this new venture, new arm of X Group, the great way to start that would be through music. Music don't have boundaries, right? I've never met anyone that loves music and are genuinely just bad, right? Everyone that loves music seems to be very positive, they're very open, right? And so forth. So Intro is as you said, international music festival that was held from 2018, I think, in Mongolia.
Okay.
And 19, and then the COVID hit, right? Ran by Majesty. And they came to us, and we looked at the opportunity. I discussed with my team, who I call my kids, right? So discussed with my kids, and it kind of needed all the above, right? And it was a great way for us to make changes and bring this, opportunity for young kids to be able to enjoy on a different level, but also creates an opportunity for people to know about Mongolia outside of mining, tech, other things. So Xcore partnered with Majesty as a co-organizer, and we offer advisory as well as entire management of organizing this entire intro, from the sales, sponsoring to operation. Majesty, being the expert in the festival sector, they're responsible for all the venue, staging, the decorations, and all that. Everything outside of the music sector, myself and my kids been handling. And it's great. We have identified, split it up where it's more available to the public. So on a Friday, it would be supportive of local artists. So it doesn't have to be EDM, right? Music is music. So offering some top 10, 20 artists that Mongolians love, allowing them to perform, where my focus is that music has no boundaries, right? Whether it's hip hop, rap, R&B, EDM, it should be enjoyable altogether, right? And then the second day, working with, international, world-recognized media sector in EDM space, Mixmag. So we'll have Mixmag stage with, world well-known 15 top DJs performing in Mongolia in an EDM sector. And then on a Sunday, we will finish off the festival with, the Boiler Room, which is the most well-known, respected platform in the EDM sector, where, Boiler Room is represented all over the world, from UK to all over. And to be able to announce that they're having Boiler Room and broadcasted live on, at our festival in Mongolia is also extremely rewarding for Mongolians, right? Because it shares that story again.
Sure.
So yeah, that's what it started. And I think through our collaboration, I think the intro will be presented and be available for the public on a different level this year. We've done everything we can to provide the best experience, the artists. And I believe there's always room for improvement.
Right, sure. So it's going to be third year.
Correct. I think so, yes.
And you guys, is it the first year you guys working with them?
Together, correct. This is the first year that intro is presented to Mongolia with me. Before it was just Majesty, right?
Right. Okay, so it's much more recognized this year than before, actually. So
I hope so.
you guys are doing great. So I want to touch on the e-sport part.
Sure.
So you guys have your own e-sport team.
Correct.
What is it called?
IHC E-Sports.
IHC E-Sports. Okay. So how are they doing?
Good. We were, able to take these young, gifted talents and get to the top, right? Asia ranking 1 in certain sector, being able to participate on global championship, invited for 16 teams from the world in a PUBG space, right? To finish top 5, make it to multiple majors for CSGO. I know that there's some dramas within that space, but I think on record, for me is it's to build and provide this platform again to continuously advocate for what Mongolians can do. You know, if my formal CSGO players thought that it was better to kind of go off and spin off and do their own, you know, as legally and so forth is different conversation. But personally, as Dave, you know, I root for them and I wish them the best, right? But, you know, we moved on from that and we have already created a new Dota team, bringing them to Division 1. Our goal is to bring them to Division 1, make them to the majors, and, you know, repeat what we did in the CSGO space, right, with the Dota. We are excited to, you know, we're building other gaming sector teams as well right now. So we're, you know, I'm very looking forward to, you know, announcing that as well in the near future and be able to continuously advocate for esports in the esports space where Mongolia should always be on your radar, whether it's a fan, whether to sponsor us, right, and so forth.
So are they all managed by X-Core?
So yes, correct. So
same deal, right? Same
yes. So it's all with, you know, all the X-Meta, esports, and X-Core, X-Codes, all the companies are all managed by me and my team, my kids.
I think that earlier or the other day you mentioned for the central bank central bank currency, you offered or you worked with Tether to offer this zone where they can use crypto as a central bank cryptocurrency, right? And then I guess that was looking into forward-looking policy action in terms of bringing into this crypto space, and again, and based on blockchain, so you can have much more transparency as well, right?
Correct.
It's trackable and all whatnot. So,
yeah, one of, I mean, that project, it, you know, it sits deep with me, right? Because I've worked on that project for a long time. I gave everything to it, and I thought that was. And I even announced that project at one of these global conferences that I was speaking at. But ultimately, the long story short version was a Tether group, the USD Tether. So Tether group working with Bitcoin Foundation and one of the city in Switzerland, Lugano, created this amazing project called Plan B.
Right.
And the Plan B was they utilize Bitcoin, USD Tether, and the local currency from the project that they minted.
Okay.
And the idea was to make the entire city crypto friendly. So from the government to private sector getting paid in crypto, paying taxes in crypto, being able to purchase everything in crypto, right? Away from the fiat. I think everyone will know there was a few months ago, McDonald's or on Facebook, social media, they said like, oh, McDonald's now accepting Bitcoin kind of thing, right? But obviously, it's only in McDonald's in Lugano City, nowhere else in the world, right? But they were. So it was through that Plan B project. One of the beautiful things out of that Plan B project is they raised or they committed over 300 million US dollar worth of, 300 million Switzerland, right? Swiss currency, and Bitcoin value for scholarships, startups, investments to basically continuously promote and bring these, like creating a hub for people to come and continuously develop blockchain, you know, that's Tether or Bitcoin supported, right? And I had a lovely opportunity to work with Tether Group. And one of my partners even flew over there together to, you know, try to make this deal happen. And we came back and I sat with the local government, including central bank. And I presented where I was able to secure 100 million US dollar worth of Tether. The plan was Plan X, since, you know, and I said, you know, it'll be Bitcoin and Tether and X coin, whatever, right? And I wanted to, all I asked was, look, I got 100 million committed already, that they're willing to sponsor, provide for sponsorships to build in new infrastructures in the blockchain space, as well as scholarships, right? So the idea was, give me like designated area, visa-free, call it this Plan X, area where I can invite all these companies to come to Mongolia, right? Why? Well, I don't know. I got $100 million to, invest, to donate, to, sponsor, to, give scholarships for. So that was an amazing opportunity. But the condition that Tether Group had was, I want you to speak with the government and the central bank and allow Tether to be accepted, Bitcoin to be accepted, right? As a form of payment. Unfortunately, Mongolian law is similar to Korea, and everything has to be transacted in local currency.
Right.
Therefore, they had an issue with, allowing or promoting cryptocurrency to be utilized for, salary or to pay the taxes and so forth, right?
Right.
So that was extremely disappointing, personally. I thought, like, without taking this leap of faith and, going for it, how could you grow, right? And if you are always going to advocate for traditional financing, you're always going to fall behind, right? So when Mongolia always talks about how they're innovating, how they're becoming a leader in the tech space and so on, I wish, personally, I wish the government could be a little bit more open-minded and could work together utilizing the emerging technology with the private sector. That would be, something that I would love to see, right?
Yeah, from my standpoint as well, because now so much technology is emerging, and again, we are a very young country, right?
Correct.
We to step, let's say, not in the forefront, but alongside with this emergence of these new technologies, we gotta have these special zones. The government's initiative has to be very, very forward-looking to give us the opportunity to try it. But to be honest with you, I'm glad that you guys are here.
Thank you.
Doing a lot of stuff. I mean, I hear and I can see the things that you guys are doing here, starting with the intro. It's not only the exchange that you guys are trying to bring it to the market and update it to, and then bring a new product to the market. But again, those what you give to the community is very important, right? And I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for
from a personal standpoint.
Thank you.
Again, thanks for being with Startup Grind again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Very inside view into what's your philosophy, really. I mean, right? So really wish you the best in everything you're doing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.